String and the recording.
All right, it is 7:03 p.m., June 26th, and this is the Community Development Budget Priorities meeting. And I'm Ryan Barthel, Chair of the committee.
I'm Stacy and Delian, co-chair of the committee.
Veronica Castro, acting chair of CV11.
All right. Don't have any meeting minutes to review. Did you have something in mind for that, Jeremy, for this first agenda item, the meeting minutes? I have not put together May's yet.
If we don't have anything, you can skip over it.
Yeah, I'm not. I guess I usually skip over it in my head on other committees. All right, so the next thing are the Juneteenth event thank you letters that Jeremy has drafted. We spoke about it a little bit at leadership. Has there been anything else done on that?
Jeremy?
Sounds like you must be running around for the moment, but
Did you review the letter, Ryan and Stacy?
it has. Jeremy hasn't gotten it to us yet. I'm still working on that, I guess. And then waiting on. Discuss some language, so we'll get the updated language.
I did email some stuff to, like that
Yeah.
final sentence that I.
To Jeremy.
I sent it.
Okay. And then Stacy Andy suggested that it would come from you since you were leading it and doing certainly more of the work than I did.
Yeah, we had a highly successful Juneteenth event with the help of Cynthia Rodriguez and I. We, made it happen. We thank everybody that attended, community members, all our sponsors, donors, elected officials, and also the person that wrote the story, Bronx Chronicle. And we'll be working and sending out thank you note shortly. And that's it.
It was a really nice event. It was the first time that I actually was able to attend, and I think it was very well put together, and I enjoyed myself there for the time that I was able to stay. So again, thank you both for grabbing it at the last minute due to unfortunate changes and being able to pull it off. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item is our training, the DCP Alchemer training. This is the training on how to input our community budget requests, budget and expense requests. I was able to do it. I spoke with one of the folks who puts it on, and they were able to send me an offline link, so I didn't have to do the live webinar. I kept missing it. Have you been able to get
No,
on that yet? I'll ask if I can share the one that
Yeah.
offline one, and then maybe you can do it that way.
never did.
I don't know what the old one's like. It seems straightforward enough, though. It shouldn't be, it's a lot to write, but it doesn't seem too difficult. So I'll share that with you, or make sure with them that I can share it with you, and then
Something.
any questions on that?
Mhm.
And tomorrow, I guess I'll bother people again for their committee submissions. We have not received any yet.
From any of the committees.
Correct.
Well, I'll take responsibility for economic development due to the changes and everything. I
Right.
wasn't able to remind them, and I had to resign as chair of that
Yep.
committee. So I will send out another reminder today to them and see if we could get another reminder out in the morning
Okay.
to the rest of the committees.
Yeah. I'm sure that remember from Serena and Malcolm, the many reminders, but I believe they were asking for 3 budgetary and 3 expense, and the expense are the smaller but recurring, and the budgetary are the larger or capital style projects. And I believe we get 25 of each total for the district, if I remember correctly. to submit. So and it's important because it tells the city what the community board is, what the community is interested in, right? Like if I know that I'll be submitting some of my own, but the things that I see aren't necessarily the things that other people see. And since I'm the one going to be submitting them, but anyone can submit them, anyone can pass them off to us. It's not just committees. There were some individuals. I know that Diana on behalf of Bronx Park East submitted some. So there are, you can do it through your committee or also individually as well.
Are there any that have already been listed from, that were already discussed prior to May?
I don't believe so. No, I don't believe that any had been sent in. I honestly in May we were still talking about the prior years because I think the budget was mostly just finalized in April or April. So yeah, we had just finished the prior years.
So at this point, May and June were the time to get in for this year. If I remember correctly.
The submissions are due. They haven't even opened the submission portal for this year yet, and the submissions are due at the end of October, October 31st.
Okay.
So that's what we wanted to get it in early because it is a lot of work. Let's see how well I remember my training. There's like a district needs assessment. You talk about broadly what sorts of things the district is interested in, and then you talk about the individual areas that you're interested in, and then for each committee you have sub areas in there where you can list, try to identify what the different requests are, and then type in the request. It's a lot of substantial amount of writing.
So the deadline that was suggested was the end of June, so that way you guys have time before October, so you're not running crazy trying to get it in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll send reminders out and hopefully we'll see what happens. And maybe,
Yeah.
I mean, we still have a little time, maybe over the summer, people start thinking of stuff now that
Hopefully.
there's a little, a lag in the meetings and stuff, and they'll start sending submissions in. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
That June, the end of June deadline, the end of June is like next week.
Yeah, no,
So can
that was.
be extended?
Well, they can't, because like Ryan said, October is when it's actually needs to be submitted. June was Serena's request so that way they can work on it. You guys could work on it and not have to, at the last minute, trying to put everything together for the October submission. So we can remind people to try and get it in by June, but if they don't, we can let them know that they could also submit it over the summer. If they can think of anything, but we would try and make the deadline like somewhere in August at the latest. If you guys agree to that, that's up to you guys, because it's your committee. So that way they have that time and you guys will have time to do whatever you need to do for the submission.
Yeah, I mean, just realistically, Serena had an impressive drive, and I'm not staying up till midnight to do it. I'll fall asleep. Like, it's just not happening. So the sooner you get it in, the better chance I'll get it in and get it in well. Is really what it comes down to.
Understood.
One thing that's not on here is the neighborhood support team, the NST meeting. We had the first meeting, the first one of those with the city. Originally it was Tiz and Serena who had submitted the request, and I think it had gone through community development. And since both of them are no longer on the board, Jeremy asked who else would be interested, and it's Hazel and I who offered to do that. So we had that first meeting last week on Friday, I believe, 21st. And that went well. We talked about the different areas that they had identified. It was focused on, it was listed as street racing. It's more loud cars, people liking to show off. We had a couple of places. There's Seminole Avenue, and then out by Home Depot, Waring and Mace, both Bronx Park East and Allerton. So on all sides.
I just walked on White Plains Road, a lot of speed and it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that one is. Go on that. Yeah. So anyway, and What were the other areas? But the point of it is to identify what the relevant agencies are. And then the mayor's office, that's representative from the mayor, will try to get some representatives from those agencies to come by and try to talk about it. Another one was Bronx Park East, where there's a lot of grilling, Bronx Park East and Pelham Parkway, where there's a lot of grilling, especially on the weekends, and talked about ways we could try and deal with that. One of the things, ultimately, we don't have sufficient event space in the neighborhood for people to be able to go out and do this. If these parks are full every weekend, so hopefully be able to work with parks to find a way to that people can have events and have them safely and not harm the parks.
I've seen a lot of Bronx Park East when just driving by and I see full out tents,
Oh yeah, every weekend.
50 people having a party and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And then sinkholes, unsurprising, but focused on a couple in the sort of northeast section of Mickle and Tiemann between Mace and Allerton. They are sizable sinkholes and they have been patched in the past, but the hope is to try and find a more lasting solution for them. And not exactly shocking, people want more parking. But that one seems intractable.
It's hard. You would think that you have one family, one car, and you have one family with 4 cars or so forth. There's a lot
Yeah.
of people, especially since the pandemic decided they needed cars instead of public transportation, so it's increased even more.
And then if you get cars now are not the same size they were when these homes were built, so you can't park in the driveway, you can't park in the garage. And 10 people who don't have a driveway or garage, or it's a challenge.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that is all that I have. We can move on to gallery. Anything from?
Yes, so we did speak earlier today, and I'm not sure if that would fall under budgetary or expense. But I was thinking that, we need some sort of a budget for outreach. City charter is explicit in that we're supposed to be doing substantial outreach, and I think part of the reason why we have, limited engagement in the community is because of that lack of outreach. But outreach is more than just kind of going somewhere and saying hi. It's, setting up a table, having tangible things that people can hold on to, even if it's a pen or, a magnet or whatever. So,
So I don't know, I'm pretty sure that there is not something in the city budget for that, but we have the Friends of account. But going back to discussions we've had before, we need to start doing something to replenish that account because we're moving funds from it. But unlike we had before, we had the carnival that would help us replenish the funds in there. We don't have that anymore. So I think that's a great idea. But we need to also come up with ideas of how to replenish the funds so that way we can do things like that, continue to do things like that. But without those funds, once those funds are depleted, then we have nothing that we can work with. So I definitely think it's a good idea, but we should also come up with some kind of, for lack of a better term, fundraising for that account.
yeah, I think they go together,
Yeah,
because having a big event is a form of outreach.
that's true.
you know?
Yes, okay. Well, we could look into doing something like the carnival again, but if I remember correctly, Jeremy has said that Parks has denied us doing that again because it's usually done right by Boston Road, Pelham Parkway, that little patch there by the park. That's where we did it, and from what I've heard, that they're not allowing us. We can reach out to Parks again to see if they will allow us. Maybe they've changed their mind and we can do something like that again. But it's something for all of us to think about.
There was a lot of work there the past couple of years. Maybe that has something to do with it.
It could be, yeah.
What was is it normally a summer? I don't know that I ever noticed it and I live right there.
It hasn't been done in, I think, before the pandemic.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but they used to put a big circus tent up there. not as big as the usual circus tent, but a circus like tent, and they used to have rides, I think, and they used to have things happening inside. So it was a fun event. The community loved it, and it helped make money for the Friends of account. But since it's been years since we've done it,
Oh, I was thinking, okay. I was thinking of a difference. This is closer to the Parkway, is that right? Off
Hell
on that s-
Parkway, yeah. So you know, with the Bronx
Bronx
Zoo
River
entrances.
Parkway. I was thinking Leidig and.
Oh,
Bronx
yeah,
East.
no, it's more towards,
Okay, I'm thinking of a different one
yeah,
then.
you know, the
Up by the
entrance
subway
to the
station?
Bronx Zoo, right there off of Pelham Parkway,
Yeah.
it's in that area that
Yes.
they used to hold.
Yeah, no, I remember that now.
Is that
Okay.
like where they did a national night out last year?
I think they did a little further going towards Bronxdale, a little closer to Bronxdale, but yeah, it's in that
General.
general area.
It was right in this part, I thought, by the exit from the Parkway. I remember seeing it, right here, you got the bathrooms here,
Yeah.
coming off of Leidig. It was.
Around that
right
area.
Area.
Just when you came off the exit, you could see everything.
All right. Any of the folks online that want to speak for gallery? Yeah, Diana.
So I had a couple of things on the parks. The situation is that you're supposed to have a permit from the Parks Department if your event is 20 people or more. Although a lot of people don't do that, like for the parties and gatherings in Bronx Park East. The tents are actually allowed as long as you can see through them. That they don't have, like, they're not have walls, they're not enclosures that you can't see through. In terms of the Bronx Park East, completely outlawing the barbecuing is not really a priority of the parks or of BPECA at the moment, because it's just very difficult to do. And there really isn't the manpower for the enforcement. Parks does try to come through early in the day when people are setting up. And I think that, their main priority is that it's done safely. Like last year, we did have one person who had a campfire on the ground, not in a grill. And we called the fire department for that because that was really dangerous. But the emphasis is more on just making sure that people are doing it safely and that they know how to dispose of the coals and the ashes safely. And for the community requests, we went over it at our last meeting and we made a list of the budget requests that we want to put in. But we're a little confused about when we have to do this. So we have our list, but we have to write it up in the fashion that you want it written up. And Malcolm actually attended the meeting too and gave us a lot of advice from his experience on the committee. So is it okay if we get it in like early July?
Yeah, no, that's fine. The June timeframe was more for try and get it done early. The submission timeframe is the same as it was in the past.
Okay.
So
And we went on a walkthrough of Bronx Park last Friday with the new Bronx Park administrator. And one need that we saw throughout was for more trash containers. I mean, I think that's all over the district, everywhere in every park. So that's definitely going to be on our list again. It's a perennial.
mhm.
Okay, those were my questions and comments.
Yeah. That was we did talk about that in our meeting. The trash is a big one. For me, having somewhere centralized to put the trash would make a big difference because I went through on Sunday morning and it's every lamppost has one, and I understand that they drive the truck through there, but usually that doesn't happen until Monday, and you've got rodents and other animals going through there and people, and it's a bit of a mess. It'd be nice to have one place where it was, preferably if it would be containerized. So we spoke about that. And I would really like, you know, like you say, for it to be a permit thing, I would really like to see it just to make it easier for people to follow the rules. Because right now you got to fill out the request a long time beforehand, and it just put a sign on the entrance or something and let people send in the request. Right now it feels a little arcane, might be overstating it, but maybe more work than it needs to be for someone to have a birthday party on a Saturday morning.
Well, actually, the Parks Department just changed the regulations like maybe a year ago. Maybe not even a year ago. Because there didn't used to be a permit for the gatherings of 20 or more for any activity. There are only special event permits. You know, if you were having a concert or a performance or something like that. And I don't know how, it is kind of new, and I think a lot of people don't know that you're really supposed to have a permit when it's 20 or up for whatever activity. But the reasons for doing it were to reduce conflict between, you know, two different groups might show up for the same space. And who's to say who gets it? And also just to be able to check and make sure, you know, if anything happens, if there's any damage, they know who was responsible.
Yeah.
But
All
I
right.
agree that a lot of people don't know that that rule exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Hazel's the other one on there, so if I forget anything, hopefully she'll remind me as well. But I'll keep that in mind for our next meeting. All right. Anyone else? Hearing nothing. Don't have anything for motions. Does anyone have any old business? For new business, since our September meeting is the day before the full board meeting, and since we're hopefully going to have some budget priorities and requests to discuss, it might be good to move the September meeting back a week or two. How do you feel about that?
Yes, I think so. I think the back to back is.
It's rough.
Perfect.
And if your committee wants, you can choose another date to permanently have it fixed on. That's not as close to the full board. That's another option, not just for one time. If it works better for you guys to have it at a different day during the month, you could always move it.
I think so.
It might be better to wait and talk about that until presumably there will be more of us in September.
So what you should do is look at the calendar and choose a date now for September, so that way you can tell Jeremy tomorrow and he can
Yeah.
make sure that when the September one is published, it's updated.
Yeah, that's what I was going to pull up. I do have it.
You can pull it up on there so you can see what other meetings are scheduled for.
Oh, it's not
Oh, wait, it's not published yet.
Yeah.
That's right. Sorry.
I'm already there.
What was the Austin? I could look, but.
The 9th and the 11th, what dates are those?
The 9th is a Monday, the 11th is a Wednesday.
When is the Austin? The Austin.
Housing is the 5th, the Thursday. First Thursday.
Okay, and when is the land use? Is there the land use? Because I don't want them to be like back to back.
I've had that. I've had 4 meetings.
There is no
I would say the economic.
Oh, okay, so we could pick any
There's no
one.
land use listed for September yet.
So any one of those dates would be fine.
All right, I think I'd go, I think the 11th is probably what would work best for me. Remembering the calendar. Hold up, yeah.
Request for the-
Yeah, I mean, for me, the 11th works. Is that okay with you as well? Yes. Okay, so I'll send something to Jeremy to that effect, and we'll request to move it from the 25th to the 11th for the September meeting. Any other new business?
Mm.
All right, motion to adjourn. All right. Meeting is adjourned at 7. I can't do that. No, it was wrong. It was wrong the other day. 7:29 p.m. All right. Thanks everyone for attending, and see you tomorrow if you're at the full board.
Good night.
Good night. I'll text Jeremy and let him know just in case he's. Turns over advice.
Thanks, everyone.
And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.